The November air in northern Colorado had a way of biting straight through a person's bones. That evening, the cold came early, settling over the valley like a heavy, silent warning. Emily Carter almost didn't come down to the creek after work. But the day had been rough, and the quiet water always helped her clear her head. She parked her dusty Jeep near the old wooden bridge and began walking down the narrow trail that curved between tall pines. Dead leaves crunched under her boots. The wind hissed above, weaving through the branches like whispered conversations she couldn't quite hear. There was no one else around. There was never anyone else around. That's why she loved this place. As she drew closer to the creek, she tucked her hands into her jacket pockets, trying to warm her fingers. Her breath formed pale clouds in the air. Usually the soft gurgling of the water relaxed her, but today something felt off, too still, too quiet. Halfway down the trail, she heard it. A faint, trembling sound. A whine. Not the confident bark of a wild coyote or the sharp chirp of an injured bird. This was different. This was the sound of an animal trying not to die. Emily stopped walking, her pulse kicked up. The whine came again, weak, raw, filled with pain, drifting from the creekside ahead. She moved slowly, forcing her breath to stay steady, and pushed aside a few branches blocking her view. And then she saw him. A German shepherd lay on the muddy bank, his body half in the water, half on the wet ground. His fur was drenched, clinging to his ribs. His paws trembled uncontrollably. Steam rose faintly off him as the cold swallowed what little warmth he had left. He looked like he had been fighting the elements for hours. Emily's heart twisted sharply. "Oh, sweetheart," she murmured, rushing forward. She knelt beside him, the mud soaking into her jeans, and slid her arms under his head to lift it gently. The shepherd's eyes fluttered open, deep golden brown, glossy with fear and exhaustion. He tried to shift, but his body collapsed again, too weak to cooperate. "It's okay," Emily whispered, her voice soft but trembling. "You're safe now. I'm here. I've got you." She pulled off her scarf and wrapped it around him, trying to give him even a scrap of warmth. Her hands brushed through his wet fur and she froze. A collar. She hadn't noticed it at first because it was buried under mud, leaves, and tangled fur. Carefully, she tugged the strap forward. The leather was worn, almost brittle. The metal tag hanging from it was scratched, dented, but readable. Emily wiped the mud from the tag with her thumb. The letters came into focus. A name. A name she had not heard, not spoken, not even allowed herself to think about in 4 long years. Her breath hitched painfully. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "This can't be real. The name on the tag belonged to someone she once cared about more than anything. Someone who disappeared without a goodbye, without an explanation, leaving her to stitch her life back together alone." Her fingers trembled as she traced the letters again, as if they might change. They didn't. She swallowed hard, but the shock kept expanding in her chest. Before she could gather her thoughts, the shepherd's body stiffened. His ears twitched. His eyes snapped toward the trees behind them. A low growl rumbled deep in his throat, weak but warning. Emily turned. At first, she saw nothing but darkness between the pine trunks. Then, a shadow moved. Slowly, deliberately. Someone was standing there, watching. Emily's heart thudded painfully against her ribs. She blinked, trying to adjust her eyes to the dim orange glow of the fading sun. The figure stepped slightly to the side, then stopped, not close enough to see clearly, not far enough to ignore, just watching. Emily instinctively pulled the dog closer, though she had no idea what she could do if that person decided to come closer. The air suddenly felt heavier, the wind colder, and then the shadow disappeared, just slipped behind the trees without a sound. Gone. Emily's chest tightened, whoever that was. They hadn't stumbled on the scene by accident. They had been standing there, waiting, maybe even following. She looked down at the trembling shepherd again. He blinked up at her, worn down but alert, as if he too knew the danger wasn't gone. "Okay," Emily whispered shakily. "We're getting out of here now." She slid her arms under the dog's body. He whimpered but didn't resist. With all her strength, she lifted him enough to start dragging him toward the trail. He was heavy, far heavier than she expected, but adrenaline made her stubborn. Behind her, the forest stayed silent. Too silent. When she finally reached her jeep and lifted the shepherd into the back seat, she paused, hands gripping the icy metal door. Her gaze drifted back toward the path she'd just come from. The trees swayed in the wind. But someone, was still out there. And Emily had the sinking feeling that the shepherd wasn't the only one who'd been brought to that creek on purpose. The name on his collar, the shadow in the trees, none of this was a coincidence. Not tonight, not anymore. Emily drove faster than she ever had on the rural road toward town, her hands gripping the steering wheel hard enough to make her knuckles ache. The cold night deepened around her jeep, the headlights carving shaky paths through the dark pines lining the road. Every few seconds she glanced at the back seat, checking on the freezing German shepherd curled in an old blanket she kept there for camping trips. His breaths were shallow but steady. His eyes stayed half open, watching her every movement as if trying to stay conscious for her sake. "Just hold on," Emily whispered. "We're almost there. Just stay with me." But even as she said it, her mind spun around the name engraved on the collar. It wasn't just familiar, it was personal, a name tied to a past she had buried deep. A chapter she had closed and locked away because the memories were heavy, painful and unresolved, a name belonging to someone she never imagined would come back into her life. Not like this, not through a dying dog on a freezing night. A sudden thump made her jump. The shepherd had tried to lift his head again, but the movement was weak and uncoordinated. Emily immediately pulled the jeep over near a gas station, turned on the interior lights, and slid into the back seat beside him. His gaze met hers, tired, pleading. Hey, you're okay," she murmured, placing her palm gently against his cold forehead. "I'm right here." The dog whimpered softly and pressed his nose into her hand, as if recognizing something in her kindness. Emily's chest tightened. She brushed back his fur again, carefully avoiding the raw patches where skin showed through. Mud was caked on his legs. His belly looked bruised, as if he had been dragged. And his paws. His paws were scraped, as though he had walked miles over sharp, frozen ground. "Who did this to you?" Emily whispered. The shepherd gave a faint grunt, shifting his weight. He wasn't just freezing. He was exhausted, starved, injured. And terrified, Emily climbed out, took a deep breath, and drove straight toward Ridgewood Animal Clinic, the only emergency vet open at night. Dr. Melissa Caldwell was tough, sharp, and honest, and Emily trusted her more than anyone else in town. The clinic lights glowed like a beacon through the snowy darkness. Emily slammed the jeep door, rushed inside, and yelled, "Melissa! I need help!" The vet, a woman in her mid-50s with short grey hair and fierce blue eyes, came running from the back room. "What happened? Are you hurt?" "It's not me. It's a shepherd. He's freezing. He can't stand. I think he was in the creek. Please, just help him." Melissa didn't waste a second. She followed Emily to the jeep, her expression hardening the moment she saw the dog. "Oh my God, he's hypothermic." Together they lifted the shepherd onto a rolling metal gurney. Emily noticed how Melissa's jaw tightened as she inspected the dog. "Get him inside," Melissa ordered. The clinic buzzed with activity as the vet team snapped into action. Blankets, heating pads, IV fluids, warm saline solution, oxygen masks. Emily stood in the corner, arms crossed tightly over her chest, heart racing as she watched them work. The shepherd's body trembled uncontrollably under the warming blankets. After nearly 15 minutes, the violent shivering slowed. His breathing deepened. Melissa finally stepped back, pushing her glasses up her nose. "He'll live," she said softly. "He's lucky you found him when you did. Another hour out there and—" Emily nodded shakily. "I'll stay with him," she whispered. Melissa hesitated. "Emily, this dog didn't just fall into a creek and get stuck. His injuries are suspicious." Emily's pulse quickened. "Suspicious how?" The vet gently lifted the shepherd's paw. "These scrapes, they're from running long distances. Full speed. On rough ground," she pointed to the bruises around his torso, "and this pattern. Someone pulled, grabbed, or restrained him." Then Melissa touched the collar. "This?" "Way too tight. It was adjusted recently, by someone who didn't care enough to measure it properly. Emily felt a chill that had nothing to do with the November cold. Someone hurt. Him, someone dragged him, someone abandoned him on her creek trail. Melissa, Emily whispered. Look at the name on the collar. The vet turned the tag under the clinic light, then stopped. Her eyes widened. Emily, is this? Yes, Emily whispered. That name. Melissa stared at her, disbelief echoing in her expression. But that can't be. He left town years ago. Nobody's seen him since. I know, Emily murmured, her voice cracking slightly. But this dog is somehow connected to him. Melissa folded her arms. Then you need to be careful. Emily glanced at the shepherd. His breathing had steadied. His eyes moved weakly toward her, recognizing her presence. I'm not leaving him, she said firmly. Melissa sighed. Then I'll set up a recovery room. You can stay with him overnight if you want. Emily nodded gratefully, but deep inside, she felt something shift, something dark and familiar. Her past wasn't just knocking. At her door, it had walked back into her life on 4 shaking legs. Hours passed, the yay. Clinic grew quieter as the night deepened. The storm outside weakened. Snow began to drift lazily against the windows, coating the parking lot in a thin white sheet. Emily sat beside the shepherd's recovery bed, a warm blanket draped across her knees. She watched the steady rise and fall of his chest. He was healing, slowly, but something strange happened around 2 a.m. The shepherd's breathing changed. His ears twitched. His muscles tightened under the blanket. He stared at the clinic door, growling softly. Emily frowned. What is it, boy? Then she heard it, a tap, soft, deliberate on the glass window. Someone was outside. Emily's heart lurched. She stood and looked through the blinds, a figure, hooded, unmoving, just standing there. Staring into the clinic, the same shadow she'd seen by the creek. Emily backed away, her breath catching. The shepherd growled louder, straining to sit up despite his weakness, eyes fixed on the same spot. And then the figure raised a hand and tapped the window again. Tap, 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 slow, precise, threatening. Emily reached for her phone with trembling fingers, but by the time she looked back, the shadow was gone, disappeared into the snow-covered darkness. Emily turned toward the shepherd. He wasn't just frightened. He was trying to protect her, which meant only one thing. Whoever abandoned him by the creek wasn't done yet. The clinic felt different after the shadow disappeared. Not just quiet, watched. The heating vents hummed softly, a steady white noise that usually comforted Emily. But tonight, each sound, the drip of the IV line, the rustle of the blanket on the shepherd, the faint ticking of a wall clock, felt sharp, amplified, almost intrusive. Emily pulled the blinds shut with trembling fingers. Her pulse still raced. She turned back toward the shepherd, who lay half-lifted on his elbows, body tense, staring at the door as if he expected it to burst open at any second. The faint growl in his throat hadn't stopped. Hey, Emily whispered, moving closer. I think whoever it was is gone. But the shepherd didn't relax. If anything, his growl deepened. Emily reached out and touched his head gently. Easy. You're safe. Slowly, very slowly, the dog eased back onto the bed, though his gaze never left the door. His instincts were sharp. Too sharp for a half-frozen animal who'd barely survived the creek. The danger wasn't in the room, but it was close. Emily's mind churned, with fear, confusion, and an ache she hadn't felt in years. The name on the collar was not something she could ignore. It belonged to Aaron Blake, the man she once loved, the man who vanished into the world without warning. 4 years ago, leaving her to wonder if she ever truly knew him. And now a battered shepherd wearing his name had appeared. By the creek where she always walked. Why? Where was Aaron now? Was he alive? Was this dog somehow the last piece of him? Emily sat down in the small plastic chair beside the recovery bed, pulling her knees up to her chest, wrapping her arms around them. The soft clinic lights flickered once as the wind howled outside. Tap! 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 Her memory replayed those sounds against the window, slow, chilling, intentional. Whoever was outside didn't come for the clinic. They came for the dog, and maybe for her. She glanced around the clinic. Melissa was in the back room checking inventory. The night assistant had gone home hours ago. Emily and the shepherd were essentially alone in the front half of the building. A feeling settled in her chest. heavy and cold. This wasn't random, this wasn't coincidence. Someone wanted the shepherd hidden. Or dead. Around 3 a.m., the shepherd stirred again. This time, gently, not out of fear but to rest his head on Emily's lap. The gesture caught her off guard. His warm breath puffed against her jeans. He closed his eyes briefly, as if trusting her more than anyone else in the world. Emily placed a hand on his neck. Brushing over the collar, she swallowed. "I don't know why you have his name," she whispered, voice trembling. "But I need answers, and I think you're the only one who can give them." The dog opened his eyes, golden, intelligent, and looked at her with a depth that felt almost human. A soft whine escaped his throat. Emily exhaled shakily. "Okay," she murmured. "Let's start with what we know." She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small notebook, the one she used for her nature sketches. Tonight, it became a place for evidence. She wrote, "Shepherd found near the creek at 6:12 p.m., hypothermic. Injured, possibly dragged, name on collar. Aaron Blake, shadowy figure watching from trees. Same figure appeared at clinic window. Shepherd reacts protectively to the figure." Then she paused. Her pen hovered above the page. Something else came back to her. Something she had almost brushed off earlier when she lifted the shepherd into her jeep. His body trembled not only from cold, but from relief. He had been running, escaping, trying desperately to reach someone, trying to reach her. But how would he know her? Or the creek trail she walked? Or where she lived, unless he had been led there or trained. Emily shook her head slightly, pushing down the rising panic. She needed to think logically. A sudden sharp beep cut through the quiet. Emily jumped. It was the shepherd's IV monitor, signaling a disturbance. Melissa rushed out of the back room. "What's happening?" the vet asked, voice sharp. I don't know," Emily stammered. He moved a little. Maybe. Melissa checked the lines, but the shepherd wasn't the one who caused the alert. Something else had triggered it. Melissa looked at Emily. "You touched his collar again?" Emily blinked. "Yes, why?" Melissa frowned and leaned closer, pushing the metal ID tag aside. Beneath it, almost invisible under the worn leather, was a tiny square bump. A microchip? No, that wasn't the right shape. Melissa reached for a small handheld scanner and passed it over the collar. A faint blinking light appeared on her device. "What is that?" Emily asked. Melissa's face changed, slowly, shock tightening every feature. "That's not a microchip," she whispered. Emily's stomach dropped. "Then what is it?" Melissa stepped back, voice low. "It's a tracker. A functioning GPS tracker. Someone has been keeping tabs on this dog's location." Emily's breath caught. That meant the person who stood outside the clinic earlier already knew exactly where the shepherd was, because the tracker told them. Emily felt the world tilt beneath her. "Melissa," she whispered. "We need to remove it." The vet shook her head. "I already tried. It's embedded inside the collar's inner layer. If I cut it out, the leather will fall apart." "In the moment we cut it, the person tracking him will know," Emily finished. Heart pounding, the shepherd suddenly whimpered softly and nudged Emily's hand, as if sensing her panic. She rubbed his head shakily. Melissa looked toward the dark window. "If someone is tracking this dog," she said quietly, "they might be watching the clinic right now, waiting for a chance to take him back." Emily's voice trembled. "I'm not letting that happen," Melissa hesitated. "I know you're attached already," she murmured. "But this is bigger than an abandoned dog," Emily swallowed. No, because the collar didn't just hold a tracker. It held Aaron's name, a name tied to a past that had vanished without warning. Melissa crossed her arms tightly. "Emily, there's something else you should know." She took a breath. "Before you arrived tonight, someone called the clinic from a blocked number." Emily's head snapped up. "When?" "Around 6:30. They didn't say their name. They just asked if any injured shepherd had been brought in. Then they hung up." Emily felt cold all over again. They were looking for him. Melissa nodded slowly. "And now they know he's here." Emily looked at the shepherd, this terrified, injured animal who trusted her instantly. Someone wanted him back. And if the condition he arrived in was any indication, Whoever they weren't planning to take him gently. Emily touched the dog's head again. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm not letting anyone hurt you." The shepherd closed his eyes, leaning into her touch. Then, the clinic lights flickered once, twice, then went out. Total darkness. Emily's heart slammed against her ribs. Melissa whispered, "That wasn't the storm." The shepherd's growl vibrated through the room. Low, deep warning. Outside, footsteps crunched in the snow. Slow, deliberate, moving closer to the entrance. Emily felt her entire world tighten into a single instinct. Protect the dog. And whatever waited outside the clinic door was coming for them. For a moment, Emily wasn't sure whether she was breathing at all. The clinic had plunged into total darkness, the kind of darkness that swallowed every shape, every shadow, every hint of safety. The emergency lights should have flicked on automatically. But they didn't, which meant one thing. The power didn't go out, someone cut it. The shepherd pressed closer to her leg, his body tense, teeth barely parted in a low, continuous growl that vibrated against the tiled floor. Even weakened, he was ready to defend her. Emily placed a trembling hand on his back, trying to steady both of them. Melissa stood frozen for 2 seconds, then her survival instincts kicked in. She grabbed the small flashlight from the counter and flicked it on. A narrow beam of cold white light sliced through the darkness, landing on medical cabinets, steel trays. Heavy stands, no sign of movement inside. But outside, the footsteps grew louder. Crunch, 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 slow measured, coming right toward the clinic's front door. Emily's heart banged against her ribs. The shepherd growled louder, the sound rising from somewhere deep inside him, deeper than fear, deeper than pain. Melissa whispered, voice shaking. "Emily." "Get behind me." "No," Emily whispered back. "He's looking for the dog." They both glanced down at the shepherd at the exact same time. His ears were pointed toward the front entrance. His muscles quivered. His breathing quickened, not from weakness, but from adrenaline. He knew that sound. He knew who was outside, and he was terrified, but fighting. Emily swallowed hard. "Melissa, what do we do?" The vet exhaled, her breath unsteady. "The back exit. We need to get him out of here. Whoever is out front. They're not here to talk." The footsteps stopped, right at the glass door. A slow, eerie silence followed. Then, a soft metallic sound. Something, or someone, was testing the lock. Emily felt her vision blur with panic. Melissa then grabbed the shepherd's IV needle and pulled it gently from his leg. "He'll be weak," she whispered, "but he can move. We don't have time for careful." The shepherd let out a short yelp of pain but didn't struggle. He seemed to understand. They had to run. Melissa signaled toward the back hallway. "Let's go, quietly." Emily nodded and wrapped her arms around the shepherd's torso, helping him off the recovery bed. He staggered, legs buckling beneath his weight. But he pushed himself up again, determined. Stubborn, protective, together, half dragging, half guiding him. Emily and Melissa moved down the hall. But halfway there, a new sound tore through the silence. A click, a soft, unmistakable click. The front door unlocking. Melissa stiffened. Emily nearly dropped the shepherd. Someone was inside now. The shepherd's growl deepened until it was a rumbling warning filling the hallway. Then the voice came low, mailed a cold. "Emily." "I know you're here." Emily froze. Mid-step, her blood turned to ice. That voice, she hadn't heard it in 4 years, but she remembered it. She remembered it so clearly that she felt herself slipping backward in time. Melissa whispered harshly, "Emily!" Emily didn't move. She couldn't, because the man walking into the clinic, calling her name, following her voice, was Aaron Blake, the man who vanished, the man whose name was on the shepherd's collar, the man Emily once thought she knew. The flashlight shook in Melissa's hand. "Aaron," Emily whispered, voice barely audible. Silence, then footsteps, slow, controlled, confident, headed straight toward the hallway. Emily backed up, forcing her legs to move. Melissa grabbed her arm. "Emily, we're leaving, now." They reached the back corridor, a narrow hallway leading to the emergency exit. The shepherd tried to keep up, his breathing heavy, legs trembling. But he refused to collapse. Every step felt like a countdown. Behind them, Aaron's footsteps grew louder. "You shouldn't have taken him," Aaron's voice echoed. You had no idea what you were interfering with. Emily's breath shattered in her throat. Melissa whispered sharply, "He cut the power. He's dangerous." "Don't answer him. Move." They reached the back door. Melissa pushed the metal bar. It didn't budge. She tried again, harder, still nothing. It was locked from the outside. Melissa cursed under her breath. He blocked it. "We're trapped." Emily's pulse thundered in her ears. The shepherd staggered forward and pressed his nose firmly to the crack under the door, sniffing urgently, then growled, backing away. Someone was standing outside too. They were surrounded. Emily's voice trembled. "Why is this happening? Why is Aaron after his own dog?" Melissa turned to her slowly. "Emily." "This isn't Aaron's dog." Emily stared at her. "What?" Melissa took a shaky breath. "Dogs don't wear IDs with human names because the dog belonged to them." "They wear IDs when the person needs to be contacted in an emergency." Emily shook her head. "But then why?" Melissa whispered. "Emily, that shepherd isn't Aaron's pet. He's Aaron's witness." A chill tore through Emily's spine. "Witness? To what?" Before she could ask, the shepherd nudged her leg urgently and let out a sharp bark. The loudest sound he had made since she found him. Emily's eyes widened. "He's warning us." Footsteps echoed again, closer now. Aaron's voice drifted through the hallway like a threat wrapped in velvet. "Emily, you always had a good heart. This isn't your fight. Hand the dog over." "And walk away." Emily pressed her back against the wall, clutching the shepherd's fur. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Why, Aaron? What did you do?" Silence. Then a laugh, a quiet, horrible laugh. "Nothing you need to survive knowing, Emily." Felt her stomach twist violently. Aaron stepped into the hallway, tall, broad-shouldered face, hidden in the dim glow of the flashlight Melissa held. He wasn't the man she remembered, not even close. Something dark had carved itself into him. The shepherd snarled. Showing teeth for the first time, Aaron's eyes shifted to the dog. "That's enough," he snapped. "Come here!" The shepherd's growl turned into a defiant bark. Aaron clenched his jaw. "Fine, have it your way." He took a step closer. Emily's entire body kicked into instinct, pure survival. "No." Her voice cracked through the tension. "You're not touching him," Aaron smirked faintly. "You don't understand what you're protecting." Melissa slowly raised the flashlight, gripping it like a weapon. Aaron's eyes flicked to Melissa and hardened. "Stay out of this!" "Doctor," Melissa straightened her shoulders. "You hurt this dog. I'm already in it." Aaron moved, fast, too fast, but the shepherd reacted faster. He launched himself forward, weak, injured, but fueled by instinct. He hit Aaron's leg with enough force to knock him against the wall. Aaron cursed loudly and stumbled. Melissa grabbed Emily's arm. "Run!" They sprinted down the side hall toward the supply storage room, the only other place with a window large enough for escape. Behind them, Aaron shouted, voice sharp and furious, "Emily! You don't know what he's carrying." "That dog has something that belongs to me." Emily pushed the door open. Melissa dragged a heavy metal stool toward the window. "Help me!" she hissed. Together they smashed the stool against the glass. It cracked, shattered, and cold night air poured inside. The shepherd limped forward, ready to jump. Then a deafening bang shook the room. Aaron had kicked open the hallway door. His silhouette filled the doorway. Breathing hard, eyes burning, Emily shoved the shepherd toward the window. "Go!" The shepherd hesitated, only for a heartbeat. Then he leaped through the broken window. Disappearing into the snow, Emily turned to follow, but Aaron grabbed her arm. His grip was iron. Melissa swung the metal stool. Aaron dodged and shoved her hard. She hit the cabinet behind her with a choked cry. Emily screamed, struggling violently. "Let me go!" Aaron leaned close, voice low and furious in her ear. "You have no idea what you're getting yourself into." "That dog has the evidence I need destroyed. You're going to lead me to him, Emily, one way or another." Emily stared at him, horror freezing her spine. Evidence. Destroyed. Dog as witness, like puzzle pieces snapping together. Aaron hadn't been running from his past. He had been hiding from something he did, something terrible. And the shepherd. The shepherd had survived it, Emily gritted her teeth, rage surging through her. "No," she whispered. "You won't touch him." She drove her knee upward, hard. Into Aaron's thigh, he cursed and loosened his grip. Emily tore herself free and jumped through. The broken window, into the snow. Outside, the cold slapped her like a wall. She stumbled, gasping. Ahead of her, the shepherd was struggling through the parking lot. Limping hard, but pushing forward, Emily ran after him behind her. Aaron climbed through the broken window, and he was coming fast. Snow swallowed Emily's footsteps almost instantly as she sprinted through the clinic's parking lot, her breath tearing from her chest in quick, painful bursts. The shepherd limped ahead of her, leaving an uneven trail of paw prints across the white ground. Each step costing him pain, yet he refused to stop. He was fighting for something, for her, for himself, for the truth behind them. Aaron's furious voice ripped through the cold night. "Emily, stop. You don't know what you're doing." She didn't look back, didn't dare. The parking lot lights flickered once, then died. Again. Total darkness. Only the moon, half hidden behind snow clouds, cast a faint silver sheen across the lot. Emily slid across the ice, catching herself on the edge of a snowbank. "Come on, boy," she whispered, grabbing the shepherd's collar gently. "Stay with me." The shepherd let out a pained grunt, but nudged his head against her thigh as if telling her, "Don't worry about me, move." His instincts were extraordinary. They cut through the night like a map, as though he knew exactly where danger was, and where it wasn't. Emily followed his lead. They moved behind the clinic, where a line of tall pines formed a natural barrier between the building and the forest. Snow-laden branches drooped low, heavy and silent. The world felt muted, except for one sound, boots crunching on ice. Fast, heavy, gaining Aaron. Emily's heart hammered. She ducked behind a tree, pulling the shepherd close. He leaned into her, chest heaving, blood dripping softly from one reopened wound on his flank. He was hurt. He was tired, but his eyes were wide, alert, burning with instinct. He pressed his paw against the ground, slowly tracing a line with his toe. The way trained tracking dogs signaled direction, Emily followed the line. Into the forest. "Okay," she whispered. "We hide there." The shepherd nudged her hand sharply, as if insisting she was finally understanding. She clutched him gently and helped him toward the woods. But she had barely taken 3 steps when... "Emily! Don't make this worse!" His voice echoed through the parking lot. Aaron was closer than she thought. Emily squeezed her eyes shut. Tears pricked, hot and terrified. How had her life come to this? Running through the night with a half-dead shepherd. From the man she once loved? The man she once trusted with everything? The shepherd tugged at her sleeve. He was urging her, "Move." Now. She forced herself forward. As soon as they slipped behind the tree line, the forest swallowed them in thick darkness. The cold air bit hard at Emily's cheeks. Her fingers burned from gripping the shepherd's fur too tightly. They moved deeper, branches cracking under their feet. The forest floor was uneven, covered in snowdrifts and fallen logs. Emily stumbled at least 3 times. Each time the shepherd stopped, turning back to steady her with his shoulder, even though he was barely standing himself. Emily whispered, voice shaking, "You're protecting me." "Why? What did he do to you?" The dog let out a low whine. Not fear, not pain, grief. A deep, aching grief. Emily felt it cut straight through her. "What happened to you?" She breathed, but there was no time for answers. Not yet. Behind them, the trees rustled violently. Aaron was in the woods now, his flashlight beams sliced between the trunks. Searching, hunting. Emily lifted the shepherd into her arms, his weight nearly buckling her knees, and carried him behind a fallen pine, her back pressed against the cold bark. Her heartbeat thundered so loudly she was sure Aaron could hear it. The shepherd nuzzled into her shoulder. "Stay calm, stay still." Emily placed a hand over his muzzle gently. "Shh." Aaron's boots crunched closer. His breathing was sharp now, furious breaths of a man who had lost control of the situation. "She's stubborn," he muttered to himself. Always was. Emily shut her eyes. Aaron kept moving deeper. The light sweeping past them, just inches away. Then he stopped. Silence. Emily dared to open her eyes. Aaron stood only 10 feet from them, the beam of his flashlight hovering over the snow. His posture stiffened. Slowly he crouched and touched something on the ground. Emily's stomach dropped. He found the shepherd's blood trail. "Got you?" Aaron whispered. He turned and began following the trail right toward them. Emily's breath caught painfully. She held the shepherd tighter. He licked her arm softly, comforting her even now. There was no way they could outrun Erin, not with the dog injured. Not with her freezing limbs. Not in this pitch-black forest. She had only one option left, fight for the truth. She stood up, slowly. Carefully, the shepherd struggled to stand beside her, leaning against her leg for support. Erin froze when he saw the silhouettes. "Emily!" he said sharply. "Don't be foolish." Emily steadied her voice somehow, even though her hands trembled violently. "What did you do to him, Erin?" Erin sighed, almost impatiently. "You wouldn't understand." "Then make me," she snapped. "Why's your name on his collar? Why was someone tracking him? Why did he run to my creek?" Erin stepped closer, boots sinking into the snow with deliberate slowness. "Because he saw something he wasn't supposed to." Emily's heart clenched. "What did he see?" Erin ran a hand through his hair, frustrated, restless. "A month ago," he said, "I got mixed up in something I shouldn't have. Dangerous people. Illegal shipments. Money laundering. I thought it was just a one-time job. But it went wrong." Emily's blood froze. Erin continued, voice low and tense. "There was a deal in an old warehouse. I thought it was empty except for the men. But a dog got in. This dog." Emily looked down at the shepherd. He stared straight at Erin, hatred burning in his eyes. "He saw everything," Erin said. "And he's trained. He followed me for days. He knew where I hid the flash drive." Emily's heart stuttered. "Flash drive." Erin nodded. "The evidence. Video files, names, everything." Emily shook her head. "Where is it now?" Erin's jaw tightened. "The dog swallowed it," Emily gasped. The shepherd let out a low growl. Erin took another step closer. "He's carrying the only thing that can destroy me. And the people I work with. I'm not letting that get out." Emily's heart felt like it stopped. He wasn't chasing the dog out of fear. He was chasing him to silence him. Forever. Emily's voice broke. "You'd kill him?" "If I have to," Erin said coldly. "And if you stand in my way." He didn't finish the sentence, but he didn't have to. Emily placed herself fully in front of the shepherd. "I'm not letting you touch him." Erin's eyes darkened. "Emily, don't make me." A sound cut him off, a low, familiar sound, a rumble, growing louder, deeper, heavier, like thunder rolling across the frozen earth. Emily turned, her breath caught. Lights, coming fast. Police, SUVs, at least 4 of them, bursting through the trees, snow flying under their tires. Red and blue lights flashed between the pines. Lighting the forest like a slow-motion nightmare, Erin cursed. Melissa stepped out of the first SUV, breath white in the air. Behind her, 2 deputies emerged, guns drawn. "Emily!" Melissa shouted. "Get away from him!" Erin bolted. He sprinted deeper into the woods. But 2 officers took off after him instantly. Emily collapsed to her knees. The shepherd pressed his head into her chest. Exhausted, trembling but alive. Melissa ran toward them, slipping on the snow before catching herself. "Emily! Are you hurt?" Emily shook her head violently and wrapped both arms around the shepherd. "No," she whispered. "But he is. He's been fighting alone for so long." Melissa placed a hand on her shoulder. "Not anymore." As officers chased Erin through the woods, Emily held the shepherd close, her tears falling into his fur. "You saved me," Emily whispered. "And I'm not leaving you, ever." The shepherd gave a soft, tired whine and lifted his paw, placing it gently over her heart. Acceptance, trust, family. Far behind them, Erin's furious shouts echoed as police closed in. Emily didn't look back. She looked only at the shepherd, the brave, scarred soul who had carried the truth inside him and risked everything to bring it to her. Only later, much later, she would learn the truth about the creek. The dog hadn't stumbled. There by accident. He had been running toward. But because Erin once told people, years ago, that Emily Carter was the only person he had ever trusted with the truth. The shepherd remembered that, and he found her, not to expose Erin, but to survive. Snow kept falling long after the sirens faded into the forest. Emily sat in the back of the warm police SUV with the shepherd curled against her side. He was wrapped in thick thermal blankets the officers had brought, but his body still shook from exhaustion and trauma. Emily held him gently, whispering soft, steady words into his ear. Stay with me, you're safe! No one is going to hurt you again. The shepherd let out a soft breath, a sound halfway between pain and relief, and rested his head on her lap. His fur was damp and cold, but his heartbeat, though weak, was steady. Alive. Melissa slid into the SUV beside them, her face pale with worry, but her eyes focused and determined. We need to get him back to the clinic, she said. He's stable for now, but he's lost too much blood. Emily nodded, brushing her fingers along the shepherd's ear. Just tell me what to do! Melissa gave a small, tired smile. You already did the hardest part. You kept him alive long enough for help to come. But Emily shook her head. He saved himself, she whispered, and he saved me. The emergency returned. The clinic had power again by the time they arrived. Officers had found the cut wires behind the building, neatly sliced with a precision knife. Inside, generators hummed steadily, casting a warm glow across the recovery rooms. The shepherd was lifted gently onto a heated table. Melissa and her assistant began working quickly, cleaning wounds, stitching deep cuts, settling him under warm saline pads, adjusting his fluids. Emily stayed by his head the entire time, stroking the fur between his ears. Hours passed. The night outside grew quieter, the snowstorm calming into a slow, gentle drift. The chaos had ended, the danger had passed. But Emily's mind churned like a storm of its own. Aaron's voice still echoed in her ears. He saw something he wasn't supposed to. He swallowed the evidence. She could still see Aaron's face, twisted with desperation, anger, fear. A man she once loved, now capable of things she couldn't even comprehend. She leaned closer to the shepherd, whose eyes fluttered open. You didn't just survive, she whispered. You carried the truth with you. You carried hope. The shepherd lifted his paw weakly and touched her wrist. A soft, fragile connection, a thank you, or maybe a promise. He trusted her now, completely. A shocking discovery. Around dawn, Melissa called Emily into the X-ray room. I need to show you something, Melissa said. Emily's stomach tightened. What is it? Melissa pointed at the glowing screen. Emily's breath caught. Inside the shepherd's stomach, faint but unmistakable, was a metallic shape, small, smooth, rectangular. The flash drive. Aaron hadn't been lying. The shepherd really had swallowed it. He must have taken it when Aaron dropped it during whatever happened at that warehouse, Melissa said quietly. Smart dog, or terrified dog. Maybe both. Emily's chest tightened. She stared at the X-ray, tears stinging her eyes. He carried it inside him, all this time. Melissa nodded slowly. He protected it, and maybe he was trying to find the one person he knew could protect him. Emily swallowed hard, her voice barely steady. Emmy. Melissa placed a hand on her shoulder. Emily, this dog chose you. Emily blinked through her tears, overwhelmed. Why? Why me? Melissa gave a tired smile. Maybe because Aaron trusted you once, or maybe because he knew you could fix the mess he made. Or maybe this dog just has a good heart. Aaron's capture, just after sunrise, Sheriff Damian Harlow entered the clinic. His boots were still wet with melted snow, his jacket streaked with frost. His expression was hard, but not unkind. Emily, he said, we caught him. Emily exhaled shakily. Is he alive? The sheriff said. He resisted, but we brought him in. He'll be charged with everything we've got. Cruelty, trespassing, assault, obstruction, fleeing officers, and whatever's on that flash drive. Emily nodded, staring at the shepherd through the glass recovery window. Sheriff Harlow continued. When we searched Aaron's truck, we found documents, burner phones, and a list of drop locations. He was deep into something criminal, something bigger than him. Emily didn't respond. She couldn't. Her world felt shredded, everything she once believed about Aaron twisted into something dark, dangerous, unrecognizable. And yet, tangled inside that darkness, the shepherd had found her. Sheriff Harlow glanced at the X-ray. We'll need that drive for the investigation, but let him heal first. He's earned it. Emily nodded again. Thank you. The sheriff stepped closer, lowering his voice. He wouldn't talk. But before they took him away, he said one thing. Emily's breath stilled. What did he say? The sheriff hesitated. He said, "Tell Emily the dog isn't the only one who remembers." Emily felt the hairs on her arms rise. What did that mean? The sheriff shook his head. Could be a threat. Could be guilt, could be him losing his mind. We'll figure it out. But Emily wasn't so sure. Something about Aaron's words lingered like a shadow, and she knew this chapter wasn't entirely closed. The new home 2 weeks passed. Snow melted into wet patches across the Colorado Valley. The creek thawed slowly. The forests stopped holding their breath, and the shepherd healed. He stayed at the clinic for observation, but each day Emily visited him, reading beside him, talking to him, feeding him warm chicken broth. The dog grew stronger, thicker, warmer. His fur started shining again. He wagged his tail when she walked in, a small, slow wag at first, then a full energetic sweep by the end of the second week. His eyes followed her everywhere. He chose her, and she chose him. When the day finally came for him to leave medical care, Melissa walked out with a soft smile. "He's ready, but he needs a home, Emily, a real one where he feels safe." Emily knelt and held the shepherd's face gently between her palms. "You already have a home," she whispered, "with me." The shepherd let out a happy huff and pressed his forehead to hers. Melissa laughed softly. "I figured." Emily signed the adoption papers with shaking hands. She didn't just adopt a dog, she adopted a survivor, a witness, a brave soul who had carried the truth inside him, literally, and still fought to protect the one person who would understand. She named him Creek, because he found her by the creek, because he survived by the creek, because he changed her life by the creek, and because creek water keeps flowing, just like he did, even when the world tried to freeze him in place. Final truth, unexpected twist. 3 weeks after Creek came home with her, Emily received a call from Sheriff Harlow. "We finally extracted the files," he said. "There's something you need to know." Emily tightened her grip on the phone. "What is it?" There was a long pause. "The flash drive," the sheriff continued. "It didn't just contain recordings of Aaron's crimes." Emily's pulse quickened. "What else?" Sheriff Harlow exhaled. "There was a video Aaron recorded about you." Emily felt the room tilt. "What? What did it say?" The sheriff hesitated. "In the video he said, 'If anything happens to me, Emily Carter is the only person who can prove what they're doing. Creek will find her. He always does.'" Emily sat heavily onto the couch, breath knocked out of her. "He wasn't trying to destroy you," the sheriff added quietly. "Not at the beginning. Maybe not even at the end. He was trying to keep his secrets away from the wrong people. And he trusted you, even when he was running from you." Emily covered her mouth as tears spilled down her cheeks. Aaron trusted her, and Creek, brave, battered Creek, had carried that trust across snow, forests, violence, and terror, all to reach her. The sheriff's voice softened. "Emily, whatever Aaron became later, at some point he tried to do the right thing. And he believed you were the only one who could finish what he started." Emily looked down. Creek lay at her feet, head on her slippers, watching her with warm, knowing eyes. She knelt and hugged him tightly. "You saved me," she whispered. "And maybe you saved him too." Creek leaned into her, tail thumping softly. Emily wiped her tears. "Okay," she whispered. "Let's finish this. Together." Outside, the sun rose over the valley. Warm, golden, gentle. A new beginning for her, for Creek, for the truth.